We are back. It is the 2026 offseason, and this is going to be the offseason Trinity Report. Back with Ray. Ray, we have a season under our belt. We're moving to 2026. We have a brand new tool that we're going to be debuting, I think, first time officially live on a stream. We've shown some snippets of it, at least you have in previous shows. But we're back with the Trinity Show. We're going to go weekly for the next 8 weeks. I think that'll lead us right up into free agency. But we're going to go through on this show. If you're a member on YouTube, if you're watching this before it goes out to the public, you're already a member. But if you're not, hit the link in the description. You can become a member, $3.99 a month. We'll get you this show early before it goes out to the masses, and we'll get you the Dynasty Deal show on Friday. But we're going to go through division by division. We're going to talk through 4 teams in each episode, the relevant receivers, talk through their environments, talk through who might be leaving, departing. Ray will give some insight as to are these teams going to be considering to draft a receiver. That'll be part of the conversation. But Ray, I'm excited. I'm excited for this series because I love symmetry. And the fact that we have 8 weeks until free agency, we have 8 divisions. I think that is perfect for an hour-long Trinity offseason show. What do you think, my friend?
Yeah, heck yeah, dude. I'm excited for this. When you pitched the idea to me, let's go through divisions, break it down, really take our time with it. It was something that I was definitely vibing with. And then, some of the updates that we've made to the website that depending on when you may click on this video, you'll wake up and boom, there it is. I'm really excited about this offseason, the receiver position. I think a lot of people are still confused about it. You see a lot of stats and a lot of data, but how those things translate, correlate, apply to fantasy points, how you should react. We got you covered over here. You just got to trust it. Follow the dots, baby. Follow the dots.
Yeah, and I'm putting out, and if you're listening to this after the fact, they're probably already out, but the roster construction series
Here
where I'm
come in.
going through tight ends versus receivers and how those interact. So depending on your tight end premium, depending on your format, I think that show plus using this new tool will really help you be more comfortable with these two positions. I don't even think it's never going to give you the answer, right? Right.
Nah,
But it'll
nah.
make you more comfortable being uncomfortable, not knowing exactly what's going to happen every week. Because I think of the 4 positions, receiver especially, but even tight end, we're not great at knowing what the results are going to be. But before, the process was also a gray area. Now I think with the Trinity tool, you feel a lot better when you're just throwing that random receiver into your lineup because there's something that you can go on and say, man, the usage is there. Doesn't mean he's going to score 20 plus points. But I feel a lot more comfortable personally, kind of like streaming some of those receiver or tight end spots than I did even a year or two ago. So that's what I think this show is going to help people with going into the offseason. And we know there's many little markets that start now, but they go all the way through free agency and the draft and the preseason. Like there's 4 different markets really that will happen before we even get to the next season. So I'm
Uh,
excited for this.
hell yeah. Well, it was your idea. You wanted to go division by division. I love it. Did we tell the people where we're starting off at? Maybe it's in the title of the show, but where are we starting off? What division are we starting off with? Where you want to go, Scott?
We are going to go with the NFC North
All right,
as the
pull it
first
up.
division that we're going to drop. And that is the one division that has not had a coaching change at the time we're putting this out. And so if that changes, then fine. But I think it's the one that I think with the most certainty I can say is going to have some continuance between now and next year, where I think we know who, other than the Lions having an offensive coordinator opening, like I think pretty much we kind of know what all these teams are. So I think we'll just start with the NFC North today. So I see you got all of them up on the screen. Anything stand out to you? Any specific? We don't even have to start with one individual team, but what stands out?
Yeah, let's blow it up and let's add the labels so we know who we're talking about here. This is weeks 1 through 17, so it doesn't include anything from the playoffs. It's just regular season 1 through 17. So let's see. What immediately stands out to me is where Christian Watson plots, where the Lions wide receivers finished, opposed to where they started and how people felt about Jamison Williams to start the season. It also it the Bears, right? How can you not look at that? And right now the story is written. Like we have all the answers to the test from this past season. And one of the things that we've seen even with their playoff victory over the Packers, Scott, is I saw a lot of people on social media saying Caleb Williams is the type of quarterback that's going to make me disregard completion percentage, right? There are some obvious areas of his game in which I look at where Odunze, Burden, and Loveland are for the Bears and where they sit in relation to the regression line. And I'm not as fearful of that as this in the season in totality. We could filter off some of those guys at the back end. But the things that immediately stick out to me are where the young Bears receivers plot, which even though they're below the line, I think if we start to filter towards the second half of the season, they're above and we feel really good. And then look at how poor the Vikings are. If we take everybody off and just look at Minnesota, this was just like it almost initially, like off of first rip, how can it get much worse than this moving forward with Minnesota and those pass catchers? So immediate stuff for me where Christian Watson plots out for his time played, the two Lions guys, where the cluster of Bears, and then how low the Vikings are.
Yeah, I think it's interesting when you look at just this chart overall. And one thing that stands out to me is I know you have all four teams up here right now on the plot. And just back to like Trinity 101, you can't compare four teams and just look at the number and say, okay, these are the best players. Concentration matters. The environment matters. I mean, just look no further than where Justin Jefferson is compared to where Amon-Ra St. Brown is.
Right.
Almost identical usage within their offense, right?
Yeah, 6-7-1, 6-7-2.
Right. But then you look at what each produced with that usage, not even close.
No.
So without even knowing the environment score, not even knowing anything about some of the stuff that I'll talk about with the offensive environment, I mean, where would you guess that Detroit ranks versus where Minnesota ranks?
Oh, you want me to take some people up? I mean, I think they rank very much higher than where the Vikings are, Scott. I'll say that.
Well,
much higher.
Detroit ranks higher than Minnesota, but then you also get into like, okay, the usage for each team total. This is something that I'm still working with now that we got this new Trinity tool. Looking at not just the environment, but also looking at the distribution for all of the offenses at the same time as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because now, when we talk about gnats and concentration, like I think that's something that absolutely has to factor into the environment that, and I'm fleshing this out live with the people, right? But if you just said, okay, the Trinity score is somewhere between 0 and let's just call it 0 and 9.9. I know there's technically scores that can go over 10.
But
if I told you, would it be useful, Ray, if we took each team and just took the average Trinity score of their top 3 weapons on a weekly basis and just had a number, right? So like every week, Green Bay has an average top 3 Trinity score of 15. Detroit has a 21. Which is the better environment? Now, you don't know anything about the quality, but I would tell you there's more opportunity in Detroit, right?
Right.
So I think looking at something like that has to be part of the environment. I mean, we don't have all of that right now handy, but if you wanted to take this data and actually start looking at, whatever the number is, top 3, I think top 3 is pretty reasonable to look. There's probably not many relevant offenses outside of the top 3 weapons. Right. But I think if you even look at that, you can start measuring what's the denominator? How much opportunity is there in each offense total? Forget about who those top 3 are. You want that number to be higher than lower, right?
Right.
Like you want that number to be higher for the team that probably has, and those things beget each other. The more opportunity probably means there's probably a little better chance at higher quality too. We're not here to measure that, but I think it's interesting when you look through these teams and you start going team by team. I'm trying to look at the big picture, not just the top 3, but the big picture. And obviously you want the top 3 to be as high as possible because that's where your fantasy decisions are probably going to come.
Well, we can sort of, Scott, and that's why I went off screen for a minute, reverse engineer that to a degree. Okay. So we're about to, I've got the top 4 from Chicago. Now you have to do it.
Okay.
You have to do it individually, but let me pull it up. We're doing this live on the show here on this Trinity Score Report between Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, Colson Loveland, and Luther Burden. Here's what the average score is for those 4 receivers right there. 5.49. 5.49. and you had one guy fall within the wide receiver 1 kind of band for Chicago. That's Burden, Odunze, DJ Moore, and Loveland, not filtered by weeks. That's 1 through 17. I just went to the Trinity score report and typed those 4 players in.
Yeah, I think you could use that as a very loose baseline of what the kind of, let's call it like capacity for each offense might
let's
be.
Let's go with the top 4 for, let's just, for shits and giggles here for the show, give me the top 4 for Minnesota. So it would have been Jefferson,
Hock, Addison, and Naylor.
Okay, let's go here. Let's go. Okay. You said Jefferson. It's trying to Justin Jefferson. You said Addison.
Hock, and Naylor. Yep.
Jordan Addison, Hawkinson, and Jalen Naylor. All right, here go. All right, here go there. Here goes there. It's 5.48 with 1 in the band, which was Justin Jefferson. That makes sense, right? All right. Okay. So you could kind of, I mean, if you really wanted to find it, and then let's just go Green Bay. What were the top 4?
Go Green Bay, because I think that's one of the test
Yeah.
cases where there was a lot of decisions throughout the season. So go Watson, Dobbs, and this is why this will be a litmus test. Tucker Kraft.
Oh, that
and
Kraft.
Jaden Reed.
Because this is only when they play, right?
And you know that they never had these 4 on the field at the same time.
They did not.
Maybe week 1, you know what I mean? But this was the kind of scenario where, okay, this is higher than the other 2 teams.
Yes, it is.
But what that tells me is the Green Bay capacity is probably not better than the Bears or Lions. But when Kraft isn't there, there's probably more Trinity available for the other 3 or vice versa. So there's some overlap. So I think if I went through and did this for every team, you'd probably find some higher numbers on teams where there were injuries and players stepped in and maybe got more opportunity than you would have expected. But I think if we had more time to drill this out and we went week by week, right, and we just took the top 4 and then took 17 weeks of Packers data for every week and took an average of that number, I think you'd get a more adequate reflection of like, this is the capacity of the Green Bay offense. I don't know who the 4 are going to be.
Right. Who's the 4 in Detroit? I've got Detroit up. I got Laporta, Jameson, Amon-Ra. Who's the 4? It's really like Gibbs, but pass catcher wise,
it's probably Khalif Raymond, him or Tesla, but it's actually Khalif Raymond for the season.
Really? Okay. All right.
But no, so here's the key. What's it right now?
6.61.
Okay. Now put in Khalif Raymond and watch that sucker drop to 5.4.
Tanked it. 5.53. Tanked it. Adding him.
So right there.
He doesn't do
right? And because I'm looking at his Trinity for the year, 2.3.
Yeah.
So, of course, when you just looked at the difference between top 3 and top 4, it could totally tell a different story, right?
Yeah. Okay. I'm with you. Yep.
So there's something to be said with. Yeah. It's almost like if I could immediately pull the numbers for the top 3 and the top 4 and look at the difference, that might tell you something about how the team's operating. They're not putting it in the hands of 3 guys. They're using 4, they're using 5, they're using 6, and it's a nightmare. So
that's what we should have done, because if you would have taken off whichever one of the 4 of the Bears that you wanted to, I bet you it wouldn't have moved the score much.
But do the Green Bay one real quick.
Okay, let's go back.
Watson, Reed, Dobbs, and Kraft.
All right. Watson. And what are you Watson?
And just don't even just put all 4 and then look at your screen where you can see. I'll show where I'm getting at. Dobbs 5.8. Kraft is like in the 6s.
All right, there's Kraft right there.
Okay. Now, knowing anything other than just basic math that we were taught in elementary school, Ray, if I take away a 5.87 rather than a 2.31, that average is going to be impacted more, right?
I would think so, Scott. I would think so.
So take away Jaden Reed. And this is what the Packers were. And really, you could take away Christian Watson, too, because he didn't come back right away. But, like, just take away Jaden Reed.
Yeah, there it is.
We're now at a 6.6. Okay. Now add Reed back in and take away Christian Watson, because they didn't have him for the first half of the year.
5.33. Okay. So Watson may be a little more impactful, right? When he's out there.
Okay, now put the 3 receivers in there and take away Tucker Kraft. because that's what they've been operating with. Every way you slice it, this is lower than the Lions' top
Every way
three,
you
right?
every way you slice it. Damn.
Yep. So there's something to be, and this is something we'll have to work after this episode on
Okay.
how we
Okay.
can present this.
We're
Because I
doing
think
this
there's
live. We did not plan this part of it, right,
Correct.
Scott? We did not plan this.
We did not plan it, but there's something to be gleamed, especially if you're trying to figure out the environment that, how often did we just, when you're on a show, you just ballpark this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Target concentration, but we never really have data to put to it. But here, I think we can reverse engineer the Trinity, like you said,
Yeah.
and really put that into consideration when you're talking about some of these teams. Like, there are teams, if you just have the top two, that is the best environment in the league. And then you add a third and it gets worse, and you add a fourth and it's awful.
Correct.
So, anyway.
Okay.
Where you want to start?
What do you want to do? What do you want? I mean, yeah, it's kind of like
I want to go Bears. I want to go Bears because I think the Bears are probably one of the most popular teams to talk about. And going into next year, they have Olamide Zaccheaus is a free agent. So he does impact, whether they would maybe add another receiver. But if you just look at where the Bears fit in, I mean, he was fifth on their team in Trinity. So I don't think that would impact really their concentration at all. He might have been a little bit of a gnat, but I don't think it really impacts anything that they're going to do significantly, right? But everybody else is back. Cole Kmet's back. Colston Loveland's there. DJ Moore, I know you've been kind of outspoken that he needs to go, but he's still under contract.
He's there for now.
I think we have to assume that they run it back with the two tight ends and the top three receivers, and then your boy Jade Walker maybe he's in the mix, but this isn't a team I'd project to probably be taking a receiver in the first 2 or 3 rounds. Am I right with that? Would you think that's fair?
Probably not. Probably not.
Okay.
Probably not. Here's where they are. Like I think we're weeks 1 through 17 for the entirety of the season. The way that it shook out, and just the simple reminder here is your usage does not get impacted by you not playing, right? Like, it's what you do when you're on the field. So Odunze, for the majority of the season, when he's out there and active, like, you see where he plots because of how good he was at the start of the season. I'm just going to use first half, back half. I'm not trying to prove anything. There's no rhyme or reason. So we'll go the first 8 games of the season. All right, Scott. So let's just look at, because the Bears offense did change. It really changed. They had an early bye in week 4. So I'm just going to do this. Like, weeks 1 through 4. I mean, Odunze, he was way up here, Scott, like balling that first part of the season early in the year, weeks 1 through 4. Hold on, there it is right there. Got to get it right. You have to hit update. So when you do that, press update to get it to refresh. I mean, look at this, where he was at, right? 8-11, almost 20 points per game, and then nobody was doing anything. Look at Loveland back here. This was buy zone for Colston Loveland, right? Burden back here. That's the first 8 weeks of the season. Like, nobody was even close. DJ Moore back here. It was Olamide Zaccheaus is that third option, and that's weeks 1 through 4. After the bye, I'm not even going to filter crazy. I'm just going to go after the bye, which they had that week 5 bye. So we'll go from week 5 to the rest of the season. You'll see, once we update the chart, sort of how things, like, this is from, it's not trying to boost Luther Burden. It's not trying to knock Rome Odunze. From that point in time, from the bye throughout the end of the season, the good, bad, and the indifferent. And remember, it wasn't Burden and Loveland season come week 6, right? They didn't really get going until much later in the season. But who leads the team in usage at the end of the year when you just look at from the bye, post-bye to the end of the season? It's Colston Loveland. Almost a 6 Trinity score, where if you look at him, a 6 versus the rest of the tight ends, that's like he's in great company usage-wise. Great usage company. It was Colston Loveland, and I think Odunze still edged out Burden by a little bit, but significantly lower production fantasy-wise. And then DJ Moore, which it's funny about Moore, because you're frustrated because when he gives you nothing, it's literally nothing, right? It's not like 8 points and you're pissed. It's like 0. And then when they target him, it's 2 touchdowns. It's like he's above the line, right? So it's just, interesting to see the shift in Chicago, essentially from week 6, what happened prior to before week 5, and then after week 5, Scott. And if we broke this down to like from week 10 to week 17, it's Loveland and Burden way up there for what their usage was down the stretch.
Yeah, I think there's context that has to go into the Bears because 2 of their top 3 or 4 players were rookies. So to expect them to just be what they were week 1 versus week 9 is a fallacy. Like, you do have to kind of look at the season in multiple chunks.
You do.
And I do think the back half of the year with rookies, I mean, I remember you saying it last year. Like, I can almost look past the first 8 weeks of a rookie's season, but then I do care about what they do the second half of the year or after the bye or whatever happens. Like, the second half is probably more closer to what the trend looks like going into the year following than the entire year, especially a guy like Burden. Like, day 1, he was not the wide receiver 2. You know what I mean? Just because of the veteran deference that was probably ahead of him. So if I'm looking at the Bears, like,
here's 9 through 17, Scott. 9 through 17. It's Loveland, Burden. Look at Odunze dropping way back.
Well, even after the bye, like you had before.
Yeah.
Even if you just take out those first 4 weeks with, you remember, Odunze's Trinity was like top 5 in the league every week.
Yes.
And then just it just has plummeted ever since. Not plummeted in like every week he's getting worse. It's just leveled off. And you almost have to just say that's because the other guys that they had slowly got better, slowly got more opportunity. Like, you can't ignore the fact that one went one way and one went the other. Is it fair to kind of cast DJ Moore off as if he's back, he's still the 4th option?
I think so.
He's the 4th option. He's probably the least valued of the 4 because he's old. He's been around. This usage does suggest that he's probably the 4th option in the Bears' mind with what they currently have. So we can cast him off not from a dynasty perspective as like he's a 0, but he's the kind of guy like.
Well, here's what this tells me. He's the 4th option, but when he's out there, he's more productive than the average guy that gets used like him overall.
Yes.
Like, he's still
a hell of a 4th option if you're paying 4th option prices.
If you're paying 4th option prices, out any third, somebody just give me that 26,303 for him.
Yep.
Like, you're getting a 10-point per game player that's got probably some spike week, probably some dud week, right? That's DJ Moore. But based on the usage, very good.
Well, and I do have, and this is something that I've been working on more, I do have a refined offensive environment score, right? And I've added in a 4th component.
Okay.
And I want to add in the 5th, which is what we talked about, live on this show, right? The concentration score, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to get the EPA per play on passing plays.
Okay.
So on actual passes. So I think that's more accurate than the drop back EPA, right?
So do I.
I'm also adding in there average depth of throw or average depth of target, which maybe that is or isn't predictive of a better or worse environment, but I think it goes hand in hand with Trinity, right? When the quarterback's throwing it further down the field, that probably correlates with some of the ADOT data or, some of the data that's already in the Trinity score. So the Bears, when you plug those 2 things in, you take away the Caleb Williams scrambles and you throw in his throwing ADOT for 2025, the Bears still have a pretty good environment. It's a top 10 environment. I think where you get into trouble is even in a top 10 environment, that doesn't mean that Rome Odunze, Luther Burden, Colston Loveland, and DJ Moore are all going to smash.
Nope.
You probably, the only 2 environments that kind of look like that is if they're clicking, they can probably support 3 or more guys, Rams and Patriots. And I don't even know about those 4. So I think the problem here is a concentration problem with the Bears.
It's not and even it's 100% a concentration. Look, it's just
you got to pick between the options, which kind of makes me think, okay, before we go to the other team, which angle do you want to work with these Bears players? Given how much, dude, people love Luther Burden and they love Colston Loveland. So
well, here is weeks 6 through 17. Okay. You've got 3 guys that are being utilized very, very well, right? But nobody is head and shoulders above the other. You got 4 guys in the same range, and that is the issue. That is the issue. And you say issue, it's an issue for us in fantasy, but in
Yes.
real football, it's probably a great problem to have. I mean,
It-
they're all 700-yard receivers this year, and collectively they got Caleb 3,000, right? And while that may go up, I don't think what's going to happen next year is there's going to be a big gap between like Burden and Odunze. Maybe the play is Loveland, but we can kind of look at some different things for that. Let's look at Chicago right here. Let's go to the Bears and just put some of the numbers that we're talking about into perspective here. I mean, 13% target share for Zacchaeus, Nat, 12 for Burden, 14 for Loveland, 15 for Moore. And then Rome Odunze, the high man, 22%. Like that ain't high end wide receiver one target. You got to be in that 25% plus range probably to even really be in consideration for that. Look at the red zone targets: 12 for Odunze, 12 for Loveland, 12 for Moore, 4 for Burden, 12 for Zacchaeus. Right? Zacchaeus is always getting targeted down there. And that's through week 17. So it doesn't include week 18. This may be how they want to play, but we'll see. We'll see.
I think for me, and obviously your tight end premium probably matters to a degree, you know, how much you're willing to pay for Loveland. But I think with everything you just said, like kind of wrapping it up on the Bears, the way I'm approaching the Bears is the good news is it's a good environment. The better news, it's going to be the same play caller, the same quarterback, and probably the same 4 players. So there's very little like ambiguity or guessing that has to be done with this offense as to what it's going to look like. But when you're starting to decide, okay, who do I want to buy? Rome Odunze is wide receiver 16 in Dynasty, Ray. Luther Burden is wide receiver 20. What the data you just showed me says is I don't want to bet on either one of those guys at their price to do much more than get there and definitely not to exceed it. Right?
Right.
Like it feels like if they're both just what you're showing on your screen, that's a double.
Well, this is their KTC price versus their
Right.
actual usage score right here. So, I mean, there goes your big 3 right there. There they go. There's Burden at, like you said, a little lower value than Odunze. Got like 5,200 for Odunze, 48 KTC value, and then there's Loveland, right there. So,
Which
and look at
tells me that if I'm investing in the Bears and I have to pay the KTC price, I'm probably interested in getting it through Loveland the most. And if I have to go to a receiver because DJ Moore is so cheap,
DJ
it's
Moore.
probably through DJ
It's
Moore.
DJ Moore. Look at that. Look at where he has relative to the points. He's 10.5 point per game player, but significantly cheaper. So
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Let's do one more fun exercise. Let's just look at based on what they've done this season. Well, let's do this first, okay? Let's run the historical tab, and I think this is one of the cooler things, Scott, because it says right here, it looks at a receiver's usage profile and then compares that over the last 5 years of players who were utilized like that, and it will just give you what those players, an aggregate of what they score per game on the high-end level, which is top 10%, the medium level, which is the median level, which is 50%, and then like the bottom 10 percentile. So we get our 3 ranges of outcome. Last year, let's go to Rome Odunze, all right? And let's just look at Rome Odunze based on what he did as a rookie, where he was sort of projected based on that usage, the range that he could have fallen in this season. So Rome Odunze, looking at it coming into this season, based on his Trinity score, and it was actually adjusted down for efficiency in his 8 points per game as his rookie. His high-end range was about 15 points. Median range was 11 points. Low-end range, 8 points per game. Where did he finish at, Scott, in 25 for Odunze?
He was. I put up the.
It'll pull it up
Odunze
right
on the
now.
year was at 9.68. Or no. Odunze was
12 points per game.
Yep, I see it. I have to
12
refresh.
points. Yep, 12 points per game for Odunze. So he didn't finish he finished a little above the median range of outcome for him, right? So he didn't hit that top 10 percentile. I'm just going to guess 12 points. I think the median was right. He was probably in the 55th percentile, 60th percentile of his high end range. So the tool was right on point. He didn't even make the high end outcome, Scott. Here's Rome Odunze a look ahead until next season based on his 6-6 usage, which remember the Bears. I know it felt like it was like, where did he go? Because he missed. But based on what he did, and there's a mix at the beginning and the end. But if you take the collective total of Odunze, he was 12-point per game player this year. Median range, he's about a 13-point per game player next year. On the highest end range, based on how he was used, the tool is saying he's about a 15-point per game player. Let's do everyone's favorite, Colston Loveland, quickly, Scott. And the new tool does include tight ends, which is fun to always look at. And what we'll do is we won't filter by, we won't like segment it out. We'll just look at Loveland for the full season, okay? Not yank off, Colston Loveland. So we'll look at we'll look at Loveland here. 5.25 Trinity score for the season, 9 points per game. High end range, he's in that 12.7. Scott, is that you? If you got a tight end and again you 12.7, do you feel good about that or what?
Well, yeah, especially because, if a guy gets 50 catches on top and you're in a 175 premium, then that you can just elevate that number. So if I told you you're getting 15 points per game from a tight end, you're going, okay, I like that. You know what I mean?
Well, let's do this because you can do this, and I'm not going to jig it to best case scenario. We'll just go after the bye. Okay? If you're like, he didn't do anything the first whatever weeks of the season.
That's a fair rule. We already said it with rookies. Like, let's give them the second half of the year, but let's just go after the bye. That puts a little more pressure on him.
Put a little more pressure on him. 6 through 17 for Colston Loveland. All right? It will rejig this around, and what it's going to do is take his usage from that time frame. Now the tool is updated. Let's
ready
go.
For that eggplant emoji, Ray. People love that Loveland.
There it is right there. 6 through 17. It bumped it up a little bit, Scott. Not too much. We're at 13.3 points per game. And just because the people want it, let's go 10. 10, Scott. 7 weeks of data. 7 weeks of data. Weeks 10 through 17 for Colston Loveland. This is the eggplant. This is people aren't. There we go. 17.2 points per game.
He's the new Brock Bowers, right?
There he
is.
He's
the new Trey McBride.
During this time, his Trinity score 6.1, about 11 points per game. If you look at that type of usage and some of the ranges in which players fall on a high-end range, Colston Loveland would be at 17 points per game next season, which would be that'd be pretty crazy.
That would be very good from the tight end.
That would be very good. And then since we're here, we're just going to do this for everyone's favorite, Luther Burden. Same time frame, 10 through 17. Here's Burden, 6'4", 12 points per game. He's in a 16.8 high-end range, 13.5 median point range. But let's just go all for Luther Burden, and then we'll move on. If we look at Burden for the entirety of the season, Scott, I mean, this is if you're telling me I'm getting 10 points at the median and at the high end, 14 and 14.6 points for Burden next year, could you be upset with 14.5 points per game from Burden?
I think it goes back to what I said. If you're going to believe in Loveland, if you trust the Trinity on Loveland, you're probably not also going to have Burden and Odunze hit their high end, right? Which means both of their high end was around 15, 14.5, 15 a game.
Yep.
Both are valued as top 20 receivers in Dynasty. You probably have to pick your lane on at least one of them. And then the other one is a guy I'd be willing to sell. Or if you're really in on Loveland, it's kind of like DJ Moore might be the best bet.
It might be the arbitrage
play. For Loveland and Odunze. So that's how we look at these teams as a whole. I mean, the good thing about the Bears, and go to Detroit. That'll be the team we do next.
Yeah. All right.
The good thing about the Bears and Detroit is very little is going to change in terms of their personnel. And so, I think you can take these teams at face value for what they are. Probably what the Bears and what the Lions did this year is going to be similar to what they do next year. So that makes it a lot easier to, this isn't a team that's drafting a first-round receiver that you have to guess on what their usage is going to be. It's not a team that's probably going to trade for a new tight end. So I think it's very easy to make these decisions, but this is how you use the Trinity. Basically what we're telling you is Burden and Odunze and Colston Loveland probably can't all be top 50 assets. No matter how good the environment is, that's probably a losing bet. So you probably have to pick your spots between those three. So Detroit, Absolutely. This one's a pretty pretty straightforward one to me. I mean,
Yeah.
their fourth guy is Khalif Raymond, who is a free agent. I'm willing to just put Isaac Tesla kind of into the mix with Khalif Raymond. But pull up the second half of the year. I want to see what Tesla was compared to everybody else. Did he even move
Yeah.
into a relevant
It's
range where we have to factor him in?
actually a good one. I'm gonna pull this up, Scott, and then you talk about it real quick because my boys have picked up the AirPods and it keeps connecting, so I need to go grab that from them. But here goes.
Okay.
I know.
No, all good.
Let's
All
see
good.
if you always got to hit update. Make sure you hit update. I didn't think I hit that one time. Dude,
What'd you
I mean,
pick?
this
Did you
is
pick 8
almost
through 17?
it's even more clear. Here it is, Scott. Talk about it while I go get them real quick.
All right, 8 through 17. So if you just filter for 8 through 17, so you take the second half of the year, it really didn't change for Tesla. I mean, he was slightly behind Khalif Raymond for the full season, and he was still behind him if you take out the first 7 games. So, like, right there, to me, Lions are a very interesting case to where this is almost the dream of how you'd want to set up an offense because you know who the 3 weapons are. Everybody else is just a gnat. So Tesla, Raymond, whoever else it is, they'll probably add another receiver because they really only had 4 on the whole roster this year that they used. But I was just saying, Ray, this is like a dream offense.
Golly,
This
man.
is set up in a way where, and their environment isn't great. It's average. So there's a reason that you probably feel a little bit of frustration with like Jamo or Laporta if they're both playing. It's probably because they are fighting for similar production. They're
Look at
both
when
getting
Laporta was
used good.
out. Look at this. I went 11 through
Yep.
17. When Laporta was out, like Tesla, he scored, right? He got his, but look at that.
And I've already cast Tesla off. You can't sort in a way that makes him a factor. You know what I mean? Like the takeaway, if you start playing with, okay, Jamo was out or Laporta was out or Amon-Ra was out, one consistency with that, Ray, is Tesla is never relevant. So that is the kind of player in this environment where if someone says, here, I'll give you a second for Tesla and a third, like take the second. You know what I mean?
That's
he's
going to
not
happen.
somebody
Well,
I'd
that's
bet
going to
on
happen.
being relevant.
That because let's just say hypothetically, they sign Mike McDaniel signs there. I mean, it's wheels up any piece, right? It's wheels up any piece, but I'm
just saying, based on the Lions as a whole, if Laporta's back from his back injury, I'm not interested in any of the other pieces. You can debate Jamo versus Laporta or how good is Amon-Ra against the other elite receivers, but Detroit's pretty simple for me.
Yeah.
If they have a fourth guy, this is one of those where the fourth guy getting removed has very little impact on the other 3.
I'm with you.
So, and I want to check because I think that the top 3 is pretty easy, but I'm curious as to the Jamo ranges of outcomes compared to guys like Burden or Odunze, because I think people would probably say, oh, Jamo is what he is. He doesn't have a high ceiling anymore. But like, really, what? There you go. He ain't much different than those 2.
It was something you noticed last year with Jackson Smith and Jigba and Marv. And it wasn't really focusing on the high end, but how much higher the medium range is for that type of player and lower the low end range is. It's interesting for Jamo because while the high end is still around 15, I'm almost positive because Odunze fell below the regression line. And I think Odunze's efficiency adjusted Trinity was down as well. His median range is not 12, is not as high as where Jamo is, right?
Yep,
and that probably has to do with, I want to say the quarterback, and not that Chicago's a bad environment, but because of the efficiency wasn't as good for Odunze as it was here. But Jamo's median range is higher than where Odunze's currently is, even though the high ends are both the same.
You know why I think that is, though? And without actually articulating it for the Lions, it's because DJ Moore doesn't exist on the Lions.
Okay.
He's pulling from the other guys. He's pulling the median down.
That's a good point.
For the other 2 receivers. And so this is where, like, if you had to guess between Jamo, Odunze, and Luther Burden,
it's Jamo.
Jamo's probably as good of a bet to finish with similar data or similar production. And within his offense, he has a better shot at probably hitting like a favorable median outcome because there's not as much competition or whatever you want to call it. But I'm curious, like pull up Jamo, Burden, and Odunze, Trinity versus KTC, and I bet you it's like, okay, Jamo's not as valuable.
He's third. He's below Odunze and Burden. Burden 48.15. Okay. It's not much, 47.90, and Odunze, but Jamo is the lower of the three players.
So my takeaway for the Lions is Jamo's probably the buy, right? Because the good thing about his environment is it's going to be the same environment, the same quarterback, and there really isn't a threat for any of that other peripheral usage like DJ Moore presents to Rome Odunze and Luther Burden. So I'm not saying I'm going out and aggressively buying Jamo, but like if you told me I could get Jamo and 2 seconds because somebody in your league loves Luther Burden, that's the type of deal that I'm doing. You know what I mean? If I could swap Luther Burden in a second for Jamo in a first, like that would be the type of deal I would explore because I don't think their ranges of outcomes are that much different, even if you factor in just the high end, but the median you already showed.
Yeah.
Like one of those Bears receivers, if Colston Loveland is good, one of those Bears receivers probably doesn't even hit the 11 or 12 points per game. They're probably below that median that Jamo's at.
Well, and you can kind of see how he, when you've got all of the key metrics kind of listed on the screen, look at the air yards for Jamo versus that of Burden and Rome Odunze, right? He's getting downfield stuff, big time touchdown guy. Not as many red zone targets, but I like him a lot. Like it makes sense to me, right? It makes sense to me. And like you said, I think the Lions are a pretty clear situation. You want to move on to
let's go Minnesota next because I think they're similar. They're similar to Detroit.
All right,
but they obviously don't have as good of an environment. But I think the way that their setup is somewhat similar. It's not as clear as Detroit, but
all right, here we go. We've got Jefferson and Addison at the top usage guys. Hawkinson, Naylor, Thielen's gone, Oliver. Yeah, yep. So there you go. You got 3 guys there. Let's look at the and I just want to make mention, Justin Jefferson had a 29% target share this year, which is ridiculous still. So 16 red zone targets, 1.8 yards per route run. And depending on the site you use, whether it's ESPN data, that target share number could be off by 0.5%, but he was significant, 10% more than anybody else in that offense. Let's look at what it looked like, because visually, I'm a visual learner. That's why we made the tool, Scott, so I could see what all this crap means.
It's ugly that not a single guy got to that
now we
yellow
got one
road dividing line. Okay, yeah. Xavier Scott, who's technically a running back, Ray.
Okay, well.
But the point is, the only guy that got even near the line was a running back, which, with a 110 Trinity score doesn't really make me feel any different about the environment being bad. But
there's Jefferson, 7.63, 11.5 points per game for Justin Jefferson, or 11.4. Great usage score. This looks like where George Pickens lived all those years. This literally looks like where Pickens and Olave and company lived all those years before getting a quarterback. Does it flip? Like, I have not looked at the historical thing for this. I'm curious what it is. I'm very curious of what Jefferson's will look like. What do you have? There's Addison, Hawkinson. What a bust this year. No one really has talked about this. I remember Todd Eclair. We were talking about him in the offseason, and he was all in Hawkinson. I was like, yeah, I think I like it too, right? You young quarterback, tight end is their best friend. This dude was awful for you this year. Like, awful.
Yeah, I mean, that's the wild card that separates Detroit from Minnesota. This environment was bad. I only have the Minnesota environment. That's not the J.J. McCarthy environment, which I bet is even worse than the Minnesota as a whole environment. I know Brosmer was bad, but like Minnesota's a poor environment. Their plays per game was at the very bottom of the year or bottom of the league. You don't that drop back on passing attempts was not good.
Probably not good.
So I think you're looking at this as unlike the Lions. you probably have to decide at the very top, like, what is Jefferson worth relative to the other elite receivers? But I think the saving grace here is that this Trinity data, Jalen Naylor is a free agent as well. So they have a history of letting these wide receiver threes just go to free agency and they replace them with somebody else. So I don't think he's really relevant, or whoever takes that spot is relevant in the offense. But I think the real question here is whether you want to buy into Jefferson, Addison, or maybe the
Well,
more suspicious one is Hockenson. But is this Hockenson? Hockenson started to fall off, and I think that's the part that I think we have to work through. Is, J Jets is J Jets. I think if the offense gets better, the tides rise. You know what I mean? The cream
yeah,
rises even higher. I
yeah.
think the question is, it's between Addison and Hockenson. Those are the two I want to look
Well,
at
I just
from.
got I got some of the junk off of the screen just so I could see, and you could filter by like point per game range to get those guys off. Jefferson is nestled right in there. You see Jefferson right there? He's right
Yep.
in there as a cluster of like Amon Ra and CD. There's London, McBride. Who's that one? Malik Neighbors. Addison is a little more interesting. Here he is, Scott, nestled right in there. And you've got like some players below him. Michael Wilson, Ricky Pearsall. You've got Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, DK, Christian Watson. Like these are all the receivers below where Addison's value is, and then their usage relative to their KTC value, which on a screen like this, like you kind of want to see the guys whose usage is further right, even if it's below the line. Like there's Addison, right? And his value versus usage, 10.2 points per game. There's Watson, right? 7.8, much lower, 13 points per game, and potentially the number one in Green Bay's offense with Jordan Love. So this page is very much the what is your interpretation of how you can utilize usage data to buy or sell players in certain ranges.
Yeah, Addison is wide receiver 28 on KTC, but I feel like a lot of that is, I don't want to say it's fake value, but I think we don't have to get into the sentiment, but I think people have kind of cast off Addison because I do feel he's very much tied to the success of JJ McCarthy, right? Like, people give
100%.
Jefferson the benefit of the doubt. We know he's great. Maybe the quarterback brings his ceiling down a little bit, but I kind of can put him off to the side until he gives me 3 years of this past year's production. I'm not going to push him down too far. But I think the decisions for people are, okay, is Addison good enough to jump into that Jamo range? Is he a guy where you could say, okay, I like him just as much as those guys, and all I need is the environment to get a little bit better, the quarterback to get a little bit better? If so, pull up Addison's range of outcomes real quick.
All
I
right.
think this is where you'll be able to highlight this. I suspect he's probably not that much lower of a median than some of the other guys, but I'll be curious because we know the environment's bad.
Oh,
We know for
that
these types of receivers to
yeah.
produce, it's probably not going to happen when you have the 26th best environment in the league. You know what I
There it
mean?
is. There it is.
But I mean, that
There it
looks very
is.
similar to Jamo, Ray.
Very
It really
similar.
does.
Very similar. There it
So
is.
it's really, where do you think the offense is going to fall regarding one of those three outcomes? And because I don't think it's an Addison usage problem. He's getting good usage
He's
relative
getting
to
good
kind of his
usage.
peers in his range. So I don't know.
Is he a buy?
What I
If you could
I think
take your JMO and turn it into Addison Plus because
I
people don't like, McCarthy, they're not sure about, would you do that?
here's the answer. And I'm talking about this on the podcast. How do I phrase this right? If I'm not betting that I'm going to get an elite outcome from a receiver, which have we seen an elite outcome pop up for Burden, Odunze, Addison, or
No,
Jamo?
no, not for,
Okay.
no.
So I think it's fair to say all four of them, good for them is just they're a wide receiver too. They're solid. They give me some weeks, but I'm not expecting no 19 point per game season, right? I'm
No.
not going to get burned by playing the market in this range. So yes, in that case, he is a buy because he is the cheapest of those four that we've talked about. And depending on what you think about McCarthy, I don't think he's that different from those guys. So yes, he is the tear off from
I mean,
Jamo after
look at
you've
them.
already teared
They're
off Luther
literally,
Burden to get to
they're,
Jamo.
they're right there. I mean,
Yep.
Addison just and he's, and the interesting thing about this and what I can tell just looking at both of these players is that Addison is closer to being average based on
Mhm.
how he's used than Jefferson was this year based on his usage, right?
Makes
Like
sense.
he's further below other players who are getting freaking 7.5 plus usage, which are your high end receivers, than where Addison is in his range. Like, Jamo isn't a head and shoulders above. It's a 2 point per game gap between those two. Yeah, about a full 2.5 points probably between those guys. Whereas when you just look at the whole league, right, and you look at everybody up here, and you look at the elite range in which Jefferson sits, and Lamb, you could say it's a down year. He's above the line. Nico above the line. London, Olave, Chase, Amon-Ra, of course, those guys, right? Like Jefferson is much lower in relative to where he is than where Addison is in his cluster.
So takeaways is if the environment starts to get better, McCarthy gets better, Jefferson could skyrocket.
Yes.
Addison is probably kind of in that same range we were talking about, but a cheaper version of Rome and Burden and Jamo. Last thing I want you to hit before we get to the Packers. Is TJ Hawkinson just starting to decline and get moved out of the way? Like, is that even a guy you'd want to quote unquote buy low on? I'm curious what it looks like over the past couple years. Like, actually, let's look at his range of outcomes from before last year and then now and see if that's changed. I'm curious if that'll tell us the answer to this question. I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts?
No, I was going to do a Hawkinson comparison to himself and just
Yeah.
look at him over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So
Let's do that.
let's look at Hawkinson. This was last year. Based on his usage
Okay.
last year, we're at a 10, a 9, all of that. Let's go 25.
You know what else is interesting with that range of outcomes tool that I bet we could study
What's that?
is if you just looked at the gap between the low and the high, that's basically is a player a high ceiling or a high floor. Look at the difference. That's 2025, what you're showing right now,
That's
right?
current. Yep, based on the 17
So
weeks
this
this year.
past year, it's almost 4.5 points per
Yeah.
game difference between high and low. Last year, it was 3. I don't know if that tells you anything
That's
about.
I don't know, Scott. I want other people to talk about it, right? And
Yeah,
figure it out.
we don't
Like
have time to go through that now. But just looking at this data, I mean, maybe Hawkinson didn't regress. Maybe
let's
he
look
was
at
just the victim of a bad environment.
let's look at his usage, right? Let's blow that up so it's bigger. 23 is the pink. And sometimes you got to figure out which one you like the most. Some people like this, Scott. I don't know what that. I can't read that.
No, I like that.
You
I
like
like
this
that.
one better? Okay. All right.
Only if I'm just looking for because I'm looking at it on your screen.
Yeah. Okay, this works for you. Okay, cool.
Pink
All right.
pink stands out to me as better. Just looking at that real quick snapshot. You know what I mean?
Well, here's the pink is 23. Like this pink, the high points are 23. This purple is here in this year, and then the yellow is 2024. So
I think it's also fair to say that probably 5 of his top 8 high points were 2023.
Correct.
Looking at this.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know if that tells you the answer, but
I like this one here because for me, I can clearly see those high
fair.
dots of 23. And then you look at 25 down here. I mean, I look at it like the stock market, higher highs and lower lows, and the lowest lows came this season from a usage standpoint.
And you know what happened after 23? The old environment got switched over.
Kirk Cousins gone, right?
So I don't know what that means relative to how you're betting on Hock, but this doesn't tell you whether Hawkinson's got worse, but it does tell you that his environment is way worse than it was in 2023.
Correct. Okay. Packers, right? That was cool to look at it from the comparison against himself, just to see. That was cool.
I mean, this is just the first one, but I think going through team by team, I want our community to go and look at some of these things and go, you know what? My favorite team is the Packers. Let me really study their weapons and let me study the environments and all of that stuff. Like, become the subject matter expert on your team.
What did we just talk about that we started off using the report in the collective top 3 Trinity and looking at the deltas between, I think there's I don't
There's a
know
ton you can glean from this.
I know the tool inside and out, right? But that doesn't,
Mhm.
I don't know. And honestly, Scott, don't you think that the only real answer is the usage, right? And we all have that. Like you can look at it, but what it means, I don't have the answer to all of that, Scott. I don't, I'm
We're in
just talking
uncharted
through.
territory.
I'm just
No one's
talking.
ever had a tool that has all this stuff in one place. So
It,
yeah, what we're saying is there's a bevy of stuff that you could do with this and go, hey Ray, I've been playing with this Trinity and I've been looking at this versus this, and the comparison from team to team, and you're like, whoa, now we have a whole new thing to study. So
let me do this really quickly too, Scott. And we're not talking about this team, but I want to make the point. Christian Watson, you just look on the screen, right? He is usage base wise the wide receiver one, right? Like that's
yep.
pretty obvious to see that. I know this is common knowledge. He might be the one there, but it ain't the same as the one here, right? Like there's a clear difference between elite difference making usage and then what you would consider, even if Watson's the one, like you're not treating him like a difference maker where I can't move him because he's the one in Green Bay, right? Like there are levels to the oneness, right?
Yep, there's that. And then it's also, he's probably not good enough to play that role.
Right.
Otherwise, his usage would be that. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
a team would love to have a JSN. Every team would love to be able to just force 40% of their offense to one guy and he'd be as good as he has been. But not every team can do that. So let's look at Green Bay. Romeo Doubs is a free agent. I think we agree he's not coming back, right?
I don't think
Doesn't
so.
need to.
No, why would he? Why would he?
I'm willing to remove him from the mix, which does remove one of those big pieces of the pie.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And
let's transition over here because I think it works a little better. Let's craft. Keep going. I'm just putting the individual guys.
I think if you just look at the outcomes, we already looked at Green Bay a little bit where there was overlap between, Jaden Reed missed half the season, Tucker Kraft missed half the season, Christian Watson missed half the season. So if you just look at their total Trinity for the year, it is a little deceiving, right? Because 3 of those guys literally were not there half the year, but their season-long Trinity score is still going to show, oh yeah, they were a 7, they were a 6. Like they probably all can't coexist with this usage. So that is beautiful that Romeo Doubs is out of the way because he's probably going to leave. So we have to kind of decide, okay, what do we do with the other players? Notably, they have a first-round receiver that just had a nice playoff game, and that's going to be the last memory people have of Matthew Golden is, oh man, he's going to take over next year.
Yeah, there we go. Drug that Trinity down, adding that Golden too. Drug it all the way down. So there it is. There's here you go. And I got Wicks on there too. I've got Wicks, Reed, Kraft, Golden, Doubs, and Watson. You want to take Doubs out?
No, you could take Doubs out. I think the other thing that stands out here is Dontavian Wicks. Now, he misses half the games, but when he plays, he isn't just a guy you go, oh yeah, he's dead. He's not Olamide Zaccheaus. He's not Khalif Raymond. He's probably a little better than that. You know what I mean? So you now know they have a
11% target share. That is a gnat. That is a gnat.
They have a gnat that is probably because he's here next year. He's on a rookie deal on a team that's considerably, kind of flexible with their receivers. So like he's probably not relevant, but like he's not a guy I'd pay a third for. Oh man, maybe he'll go somewhere else and be good. Like I think he's fine what he is, but he's in a situation that makes it tough to really figure out what some of the other guys is. Even with Romeo Doubs out, you still have to navigate between Matthew Golden, Jaden Reed, and Christian Watson. And I didn't even mention Tucker Kraft, but I think he's kind of like Loveland, where if you're willing to bet on him, he's in his own position. You know what I mean? Like when there's wide receiver ambiguity and you also have a really good tight end, typically just bet on the tight end in a lot of cases. So I don't know where you want to look at.
I want to go Watson's range, just full season. Okay. Let me see. And I know the full season for him is an abbreviated season. How much do you buy those? When did he come back? Like week 7, week 8? How much do you buy week 8 through the rest of the he was good. I mean, this is very high.
Full circle, Ray. He is valued lower than Jordan Addison, Jamison Williams, Rome Odunze, Luther Burden. So if there's a whole nother arbitrage play, like comparing him to Addison and Jamo, probably rather have Christian Watson. Is that fair?
Let me look at what his thing was last year. And last year he didn't play the full year.
Last year was an outlier in terms of how bad he was, so I am curious what it
I
looked
mean,
like. Dude,
it's not bad.
that was his worst season by far of his career, of his 4 years. And it doesn't look that different than Jordan Addison.
Here goes 23 season.
Yeah.
Like this is if healthy, he does. And when you think about, he does the stuff that scores fantasy points, right? He's getting downfield work. He's good after the catch. He scores touchdowns. The issue is there's no consolidation amongst the receivers. They're all like 18%, 18 to 12% target share guys, and you got 5 of them. That's the issue. Golden, 10.5% target share. Wicks, 11%. Dobbs, 17%. Kraft, 18%. This guy, Christian Watson, 18%. There is no separation. And this is, Watson's year over year outcomes based on his usage is right in this range. If you told me today that he's going to give me 15 points per game, like next year, I'd be all right. That's somebody I definitely like. I'm in. And even though the high end range probably doesn't hit that top 10 percentile, if he can get me to that 20th percentile, if he's around a 15 point per game, 16 point per game player, I think that would be an incredible outcome for him. His Achilles heel has been staying healthy, man, and I don't want to get into health stuff, but that's been his issue. Can he make it that far? I don't know, and that's the risk in the bet.
And I think that health stuff gets way overblown for a lot of people, not on Christian Watson, but in terms of we play a week-to-week game. And so, like, with him, what this data is telling you that he is probably a really good bet to be just as good as a lot of the guys we talked about, if not better. But he doesn't cost that much, and you're only playing him when he plays. If he's not playing, he's not playing. If he's going to miss 6 games a year, then he's going to miss 6 games a year. Do what you will with how you adjust his value down because of that. But when he plays, like, he's probably the guy that if you can go pay the same type of price that, you can see on KTC, he's a better bang for your buck than Jameson Williams. He's probably a better bang for your buck than it. I mean, is this a crazy statement, right? He is going to outperform one of those Bears receivers, minimum. I don't think that's a crazy statement, right? Not at all.
No, that's not a crazy statement, no.
Okay, so if I can tell you that's true, you can do what you will with how you view him versus Burden and Odunze. There's a clear difference in how the community views those 3 receivers. So,
look
take
at
that for what it is.
Man, he came back off the rip, and
His
first game in week 8, it was higher than week 8 in 2024 as far as usage, more than his 2023 week 8 as far as usage. He topped it again in week 9. In week 10, it was the highest week 10 usage he had received, the highest week 11 usage. Well, no, he had one week 11 and last year was better. Highest week 12 usage, week 13 usage. 14 dropped a little bit, and then 15 dropped a little bit, and then he swung back up, and week 17, 22 points. And that's off of an ACL tear.
Yeah, is this crazy to say, Ray? Is Jayden Reed just kind of a younger DJ Moore in this offense?
Is that who he feels like to you? Yeah.
What I mean by that is I think I wouldn't overthink what Jayden Reed is. I'm not saying he's as good, he's better or worse than DJ Moore, but I think within this offense, he kind of feels like the guy that, like, let me ask you this. If I told you had to pay a second and a third for Jayden Reed or a second for DJ Moore, which one would you rather have? If there isn't a resale price or a profit, like, you'd just take the cheaper one, right? If your goal is to get a receiver, you'd take the cheaper of the 2.
Cheaper one? Yeah.
And it's not probably Jayden Reed because he's younger. People still think, if he gets back to what he was 2 years ago, he'll be better than what he's shown.
Right.
I'm willing to pencil him in as kind of I'll take him if I have him. I think he can be a usable receiver. But I think the real debate is, and we'll end it with this, does Matthew Golden have the capability to get closer to Christian Watson than what this shows? Because if he does, then he's probably what pulls from Christian Watson, not Jaden Reed. And Tucker Kraft is on his own island. I'm kind of treating him like if you're in on Tucker Kraft, you're doing it for the tight end advantage. You know what I mean? He's got a good role. It's probably not going to go away. If you're in on what he was before he got injured, you're banking on him being like Loveland. You're banking on him being a standalone piece in his offense.
Make me believe it. Here's Golden for the full season. Give me a range in which I could point to.
I can't. The only range would have been I want to say it was like week 6 through 8, but he didn't produce with that usage, so it went away.
Give me. We didn't do that. We're not gonna. You can do
that. Go 6 through 8. Just humor me, because this is the only argument you can make of filtering creatively to tell a Matthew Golden story. I think it's going to be a little bit higher, but not enough. Okay, yeah, there you go. If he hits that, look at the.
Wow.
I know it's only 3 games, but look at the gap between the low and the high.
Talk about that. What is that? Man, that's huge.
Well, I think it does have to do with the number of games we're using in the sample, right? It's only 3 weeks. But this would be the story you'd tell on Matthew Golden. If he gets, because I remember talking about him a couple weeks in a row on the show. Like, this is the time.
This is the time he needed to do it. Yep.
Sink or swim. And he didn't take advantage of it. And then Watson came back and everyone just kind of lost sight of what Matthew Golden was. Instead, it was just, oh, he's not getting used enough. But I'm concerned, man. Like, I don't think he's not a great bet to even get in the conversation with guys like Jamo or Jordan Addison. You would take that bet if he got to that range. He's not even close to being that. And he's in an offense that's, let's see, where did Green Bay rank in the environment score? Okay, a little bit higher. Like, I could see where Green Bay's environment, if it kind of stays what it is, you know, you could see where they have 2 strong weapons. I don't know if it's probably worth chasing that Matthew Golden usage.
The median range outcome was last year's version of Xavier Worthy. If he just hits that, and look at how people felt about that, you know, not 2025 Worthy, but the 2024 rookie version of him. All right, Scott, we got to get out of here. We're at time. That's the NFC North. This was fun. I enjoyed this. I'm going to enjoy this series doing this with you, man. So close us out and get us out of here, Scott.
Yeah, I mean, there's still work in progress, right? Like, we're looking at this for the first time, the way that we're looking at it. It's a new tool. It's a new season. I think my hope for this series is to help us be more comfortable talking about what these things actually mean when you see them on the screen. But for the people that are watching, like, this is a preview kind of into head of how I play Dynasty, right? Zooming out the name of the player, zooming out who do people love, Luther Burden versus Rome Odunze versus Jamo, and really looking at, like, what does their usage mean? And if then I'm going to go out and try to play the market or try to figure out who's better than who or who's worth more than who, there's some inefficiencies there. Because I guarantee you most of the people in your league are not looking at this level of intricacy for each team. And it'll be very interesting when we start getting into some of these divisions that have brand new coaches, brand new coordinators. Oh, that team's probably going to draft a first-round receiver. Well, we didn't have any, like, none of these teams right now are probably drafting Jordan Tyson. Right. They're probably not drafting, Carnell Tate or a first-round tight end. So it's
paying George Pickens. Ain't none of them going out and buying George Pickens in the offseason. Yeah.
They're easier to work through than the ones that we expect half their receiver room or their whole environment to be flipped upside down. So
appreciate it,
that's
man.
It.
Appreciate it. Thank y'all for the support. If you're a member here, highly encourage getting in the community. If you're in the community, I encourage you to become a member. We're going to do this all off season. We appreciate the support. Hit the thumbs up button, like everything, and play with the new tool. This will be live this week. Have some fun with it, and we'll be back next week with another division. We'll see you then.